of the Piers docking compartment of the Russian segment of the International Outpost. Everything is in good shape. You're looking at the flight control room here at the Johnson Space Center, where the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers has been on console now for about an hour and 45 minutes, presiding over the work that will be done both inside and outside of the International Space Station, working in conjunction with their Russian flight control colleagues half a world away at their control center outside of Moscow. Here at the Johnson Space Center at this hour, Flight Director Mary Lawrence, at the bottom of your screen, is in charge of the Orbit 2 team. She will be monitoring all of the spacewalk activities by the two Russian cosmonauts throughout the course of the day today. She's joined on console by spacecraft communicator, or Capcom, Tamara York, who will be talking to the crew members inside the International Space Station while the spacewalking activities are being conducted outside. And in the back row here in the flight control room is a veteran spacewalk officer, Sarah Corona, at the bottom of your screen. Sarah Corona has presided over a number of Russian and U.S. spacewalks. She will be monitoring with her team all of the activities outside of the International Space Station throughout the course of the day. As we mentioned a moment ago, the spacewalk itself is being controlled by Russian flight controllers across the ocean at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow in the town of Korolyov. You're looking at a live view of that spacious flight control room from a camera on the balcony overlooking the Russian flight control room for the International Space Station. There is a view from one of the truss cameras on the International Space Station. On the left side of your screen is the Piers docking compartment just above one of the solar arrays on the Zvezda service module. That's where all of the activity is going to be taking place throughout the course of the day today. Docked to the Piers docking compartment on the Earth-facing side of the International Space Station is the 70 Progress, the ISS Progress 70 cargo ship that arrived at the International Space Station a little over a month ago after a unprecedented two-orbit rendezvous following its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Next to it, on the upper right-hand corner of your screen, is the Rassvet module of the International Space Station. Docked to it is one of the two Soyuz vehicles that the crew members on board the station rode to a docking to the International Outpost several months ago. The two cosmonauts who will be conducting today's spacewalk: Oleg Artemyev, Expedition 56 flight engineer. This will be the third spacewalk in his career. The two previous spacewalks he conducted took place 4 years ago, along with cosmonaut Alexander Skvortsov during Expedition 40 in June and August of 2014. He has accrued 12 hours and 34 minutes of spacewalking time to date. He will be joined today by Sergei Prokopyev, a first-time flyer on the International Space Station, who arrived to the station back in June. He is a flight engineer, and you can see from this graphic that the Orlan spacesuits, the Russian Orlan spacesuits that that the crew will be wearing outside, Artemyev designated as extravehicular crew member, or EV1. He'll be wearing the suit bearing the red stripes. Prokopiev's suit will bear the blue stripes, he taking on the role of extravehicular crew member number 2. Those two crew members woke up along with the rest of the space station crew very early this morning, shortly after midnight Central Time. They marched into their spacewalk preparations. A few hours ago, they began the chore of climbing into those Orlan suits with the assistance of NASA flight engineer Serena Aunan Chancellor. They conducted leak checks on those suits and moved into the Piers docking compartment airlock, where Aunan Chancellor closed the hatch between Piers and the rest of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. The beginning of the depressurization of that airlock began a short time ago, and the two cosmonauts are in the process of breathing pure oxygen to cleanse their blood streams of nitrogen, which would cause a condition known as space decompression sickness, or the bends, when they step out into the vacuum of space. About 40 minutes from now. The start time of today's spacewalk will be just shy, if the crew remains on schedule, just shy of 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern Time, for a spacewalk that will last somewhere between 6 hours and 10 minutes and perhaps as long as 7 hours in duration today. Today's spacewalk by Artemyev and Prokopyev will be the 212th spacewalk in support of space station assembly and maintenance and upgrades. It'll be the 7th spacewalk out of the International Space Station this year. This will be the second Russian spacewalk of the year to add to the complement of 5 U.S. segment spacewalks that have been conducted to date. Again, this will be the 212th spacewalk in space station history. A variety of tasks are on tap. Near the beginning of the spacewalk, in the first 45 minutes or so, we will see the crew members manually deploy a quartet of satellites from right outside of the hatchway of the Piers docking compartment. Those satellites are essentially technology satellites. We'll be talking more about their specific functions once they are deployed a short time from now. The crew will collect video that will be used by Roscosmos and Russian media back in Moscow. They will install a unique payload called Icarus on the large diameter work platform on the Zvezda service module that will track the migratory patterns of wildlife and birds. And they'll retrieve exposure samples called a test experiment, which has measured the environment of the low Earth orbit micrometeoroid impact environment that the space station undergoes and endures throughout its orbits of the Earth. There are get-ahead tasks as well. Again, we'll break down the EVA in more detail in just a few minutes. While the 2 cosmonauts are outside, the 4 USOS crew members on the International Space Station are continuing their normal complement of scientific activities and maintenance work inside the complex. As we mentioned a moment ago, Serena Aunan, Chancellor, has been working with the 2 cosmonauts inside to help prepare them for the spacewalk, and she closed the hatch to the Piers docking compartment a short time ago to isolate Artemyev and Prokopyev inside the airlock. Aunan, Chancellor, Alexander Gerst of the European Space Agency, and the other 2 NASA astronauts on board, Commander Drew Feustel and Flight Engineer Ricky Arnold. They're all free to move about the U.S. segment and into the Russian segment, all the way to the hatchway of the Piers docking compartment throughout the course of today's spacewalk, conducting their regular complement of work.
Point 065 for EV2. The counter is at 1940. Standby 1. So the switch is...
At this hour, the International Space Station, it's 6 crew members flying from northwest to southeast at an altitude of 254 statute miles in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Currently about to pass over Zurich, Switzerland, on this particular orbit of the Earth. And again, the 2 cosmonauts, Artemyev and Prokopyev, are about 35 minutes away, perhaps a few minutes shy of that, from opening the hatch to the Piers docking compartment to begin today's spacewalk. Unlike a U.S. spacewalk conducted out of the Quest airlock on the U.S. side of the space station, a Russian spacewalk's elapsed time is measured from hatch open to hatch close. A U.S. spacewalk is measured from the time that the crew members inside the crew lock section of the Quest airlock place their suits on internal battery power until the time they're back inside and begin the repressurization of the Quest airlock. Again, a Russian spacewalk's elapsed time measured from hatch open to hatch close, and we'll be tracking the specific time for the start of the spacewalk based on that a short time from now.
Хорошо, тогда с этими спутниками ты его пока не запускай, пока я тебе второй не приготовлю, да?
Don't release this satellite until I prepare the second one. As soon as prepare the second one, we will set both of them up. Okay, let me train a little bit with the first one, of course.
As I mentioned a moment or two ago, today's spacewalk, which again will last somewhere between 6 hours and 10 minutes and perhaps as long as 7 hours in duration by Artemyev and Prokopyev, it contains a mixed bag of activities, most notably the deployment of a quartet of technology satellites and the retrieval of equipment that has been outside the station for some time now, collecting data on a variety of scientific and technological applications. Let's take a look at this video and this animation that was prepared that explains in more detail today's spacewalk that is designated Russian EVA number 45.
Russian EVA-45 will be performed by Oleg Artemyev as EV-1 in the red stripe suit and Sergei Prokopyev in the blue stripe suit as EV-2. Sergei will egress DC-1 first and install the camcorder 360 on the EVA ladder. Oleg will hand out 2 Tynusha nanosatellites to Sergei. Sergei will get in position and take the 2 nanosatellites out of their containers and deploy them. Then Sergei will hand in the 2 containers that were housing the nanosatellites. Oleg will then hand out 2 Cirrusat nanosatellites. Sergei will then take the 2 nanosatellites out of their covers and deploy them. Sergei then will hand in the 2 covers from the nanosatellites to Oleg, and he will stow them in DC-1. He will remove the GoPro 360 and install it on himself, and Oleg will egress DC-1, bringing out with him the cable carrier, Icarus's boom, and Icarus's foot restraint. The 2 will then translate along the service module to the Universal Platform number 2. They will remove an adapter and install it on the side of the Universal Work Platform and install the cable carrier onto the adapter. They will install the Icarus boom in its place. They will remove one of the cables from the boom and install it on a panel on the service module. Sergei will then take another cable off of the boom and install it onto another panel on the service module. They will relocate a cable clamp and also 1 hook of a gap spanner. They will then install the Icarus foot restraint on handrails on the service module. They will then translate back to the DC-1 and retrieve the Icarus antenna. They'll translate back to the Universal Platform number 2. Oleg will ingress the foot restraint and help Sergei install the Icarus antenna onto its boom. They will install 2 cables to the Icarus antenna itself. The 2 will then translate to the cable carrier and retrieve 1 cable that's installed on it. Oleg will route this cable along the service module and down to another electrical panel on the service module and mate it. As he does this, Sergei will install the new cable into cable clamps along the service module. The 2 will then retrieve another cable and do the same, but this cable is not as long and it will be installed in a different panel. They will mate 4 more connectors to the Icarus antenna. Sergei will then install the GoPro 360 to a handrail on the service module to capture panoramic view of the Icarus antenna being deployed. Then the two will unfold two panels on the Icarus antenna. Then the two panels will be deployed, along with Icarus's antenna. Sergey will then retrieve the GoPro 360. Oleg will retrieve the cable carrier. The two will translate back to the DC-1 ladder. They will stow the cable carrier and retrieve two isolation containers. Oleg will translate up the Strela boom to MRM-2. Sergey will translate down the DC-1. Here, Sergey will retrieve test exposure cassette number 17 and stow it in its contamination container. And Oleg will retrieve cassette number 15 and put it in its isolation container. Sergey will then translate around DC-1 to the EVA-2 hatch. And Oleg will translate around MRM-2 to its EVA-2 hatch. Sergey will retrieve the test exposure cassette number 18 and stow it in its isolation container. And Oleg will retrieve test exposure cassette number 16 and stow it in its isolation container. Sergey will then translate back around to the DC-1 VA ladder, and Oleg will follow down the Strela boom to the DC-1 ladder. The two will stow their isolation containers into the DC-1 along with the GoPro 360. Then Oleg will ingress the DC-1 first, followed by Sergey. They will close the EV hatch. This will conclude Russian EVA-45.
And that is the overview of today's spacewalk that is scheduled to begin about 25 or so minutes from now by Russian cosmonauts Oleg Artemyev and Sergei Prokopyev, who are inside the Pirs docking compartment airlock, all suited up in their Russian Orlan spacesuits, ready to take a spacewalk in excess of 6 hours throughout the course of the day today. You heard several names of the payloads that are being operated on throughout the course of today's spacewalk. One of the prominent features of the spacewalk, and the one that will be the most time-consuming, will be the installation and deployment of antennas on an experiment called Icarus, which is named after a Greek mythological character. The acronym of Icarus is International Cooperation for Animal Research Using Space. This is a collaborative payload developed by the German space agency DLR and the Russian space agency Roscosmos that is designed to establish a global observation system for birds and other small wildlife that have been tagged with special GPS receiver equipment to measure their migratory patterns and to see whether or not those migratory patterns contribute to animal to human related diseases throughout the earth, as well as ecological changes that occur throughout the globe. So Icarus will be the most time-consuming aspect of today's activity, mostly with the installation, electrical connection hookups, the data connection hookups to various ports on the hull of the Zvezda service module, and an activation test that will be conducted both to the Russian Mission Control Center and to DLR's payload center in Germany. Early on in the spacewalk, Prokopyev will be responsible for the deployment of 4 nanosatellites. 2 of those satellites are called Tanusha satellites. They were developed at the Southwestern State University in Kursk, Russia. These two Tanusha satellites that will be deployed retrograde from the Pirs docking compartment ladder are about 11 pounds apiece, measuring 4.3 inches by 5 inches by 14.5 inches. They are designed to measure the organization of satellites in orbit and to measure the density of the vacuum of space through the data that will be relayed between the satellite and the Southwestern State University researchers in Kursk. The other pair of satellites that will be deployed by Prokopiev retrograde from the station are called Sirius-Sat. They are designed as space particle detectors for studying space weather. The sensors developed at the Research Institute for Nuclear Physics at the Moscow State University, assembled with the participation of students in Russia. The two Sirius-Sat satellites weigh 3.8 pounds apiece, measuring 5 inches by 5 inches by 5 inches. Later in the spacewalk, as a get-ahead task, if time permits, will be the retrieval and disposal, the jettisoning of equipment called Obstanovka that was installed several years ago collecting data. The Obstanovka hardware involves the detection of radiation fields in orbit. And if time permits, the crew will be removing a boom and the Obstanovka data collection equipment from various locations on the service module and jettisoning those units and the two booms as well. So two Obstanovka data collection boxes and two booms, if time permits, will also be jettisoned throughout the course of the EVA late in the spacewalk today, if time permits.
12 millimeters. And it's already in front of me. We're ready to go. Copy. So then let's start with the checks in 9.1. Copy and work.
You hear the Russian translator of the flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov. You see the Russian flight control room at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov. They are in charge of today's spacewalk, and they are beginning to run down all of the inventory, a double check of the inventory that Artemyev and Prokopiev have with them inside the Pirs docking compartment that they will take outside with them once they open the hatch to begin today's spacewalk. We mentioned the flight control team on console here in Mission Control a short time ago, led by Flight Director Mary Lawrence. She is at the bottom of your screen. She will also be the lead flight director for two U.S. segment spacewalks that are planned for September 20th and September 26th by Drew Feustel, Alexander Gerst, and Ricky Arnold, who will be pairing up Feustel and Gerst on the first of those two spacewalks, and Gerst and Arnold on the second of the two spacewalks, as they will replace batteries on the port 4 truss of the International Space Station for its two power channels, very similar to what was conducted just over a year ago on the starboard truss of the station. Those batteries are to be taken to the International Space Station as part of the payload complement for the Japanese H-2 transfer vehicle, the HTV-7, better known by its name of Kanatori, the Japanese word for white stork. The HTV-7 is being prepared as along with its H-2B rocket at the Tanegashima Space Center in southern Japan for a launch at 5:32 p.m. Central Time, 6:32 p.m. Eastern Time on September 10th, which will be 7:32 a.m. at the Space Center in Tanegashima on September 11. It will be a 3-day transit to the International Space Station with an expected grapple and berthing to the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module of the station on September the 14th. Once the HTV arrives at the International Space Station, spacewalking preparations will begin in earnest for those two excursions planned by Feustel and Gerst, and then Gerst and Arnold a few days later. Once the hatch is open to the Piers docking compartment, the first order of business will be Artemyev and Prokopiev installing a protective ring around the circumference of the hatch to make sure that its delicate seals are not impacted by any small particles as the International Space Station orbits the Earth at a speed of 5 miles per second. Once that takes place, first out of the Piers docking compartment will be Prokopiev. He will install a GoPro camcorder on the ladder just outside of the hatchway to Piers, and then will receive a handoff of the first 2 nanosatellites, the Tanusha satellites, from Artemyev, and prepare for their deployment. The calculations of the trajectory of that deployment retrograde from the station of all of the satellites and other equipment today suggests that there will be no chance for recontact of any of that equipment with the space station once they are deployed in orbit. The venerable airlock being used for today's spacewalk by Artemyev and Prokopiev, again, is the Piers docking compartment, which arrived at the International Space Station almost 17 years ago. In September of 2001, the first spacewalk staged out of Piers was conducted by Expedition 3 cosmonauts Vladimir Dezhurov and Mikhail Turin, just a few weeks later to begin setting up equipment outside of Piers. It has been used repeatedly since then. In fact, today is the 55th spacewalk conducted by Russian cosmonauts at the International Space Station, the 45th itself out of the Piers docking compartment. The last spacewalk conducted by Russian cosmonauts earlier this year was conducted by Alexander Mazurkin and Anton Shkaplerov in February. A Russian EVA record 8-hour, 13-minute spacewalk, the 5th longest in spacewalking history. Again, that taking place back in February. So this is the first Russian spacewalk in a half year outside of the Piers docking compartment.
Прошел звуковой сигнал.
Got an alarm tone. Pre-breathe is complete.
Принято. Хорошо. Сереж, как у тебя?
Все, тоже 30 минут прошло.
What about EV2? The same. Just got a tone and pre-breathe complete.
And as you heard Russian flight controllers indicating in their conversations with Artemyev and Prokopiev that their pre-breathe of pure oxygen to cleanse their bloodstreams of nitrogen is now complete. The depressurization of the Piers docking compartment will now resume down to vacuum. That will be followed by a final leak check. The 2 cosmonauts will place their suits on internal battery power, and then will be given the go-ahead to open the hatch to Piers. And again, for a Russian spacewalk, the official start time of the spacewalk will be measured at the point of hatch opening.
Олег, ну что, все хорошо, можем начинать работать по шагу 9.2, фрагмента 6, сброс давления СО1.
Oleg, with that, you're going to press on with 9.2, DC1 depress. And go ahead and turn on injector. EV1 injector on. Timer started. Same for EV2. Timer started. Confirm.
Принято. И идем дальше.
LED is on. Copy.
Так, открываем КСД СО.
Это, подтверждаю.
Так, и засекаем.
Go ahead and open because the SO1 manually. And work.
КСД-СО открыт.
КСД-СО pressure relief valve is open, and we show pressure drop. Copy. DC1 pressure is 530, 0.08 in both suits. Copy. Pressure is 500 in DC1, 0.32 for EV1, 0.34 for EV2 suit. 470 in DC1, 0.38 in EV1 and EV2 suits.
Скафандре 0,4. 0,4 остановился рост. Принято. Хорошо. Высот 400.
420 in DC1. Pressure in suit is 0.4 for EV1. Copy.
Давление высот 390.
390 inside DC1. 0.4 EV1 suit. 370. 0.4 for EV1 suit. Copy. 350 in DC1. 0.4 in EV1 suit. Ready to open KSD2 pressure relief valve. KSD2 to open. Just got a tone. And EV2 just got a tone. KSD2 pressure relief valve is open. Pressure in DC1 is 300. 0.4 for EV1 suit. Injector is operating. And I have 2 minutes and 25 seconds remaining until 5 minutes elapsed. Copy. 0.4 for EV2 suit. For EV1, 0.39. Copy. 220 millimeters in DC1, 0.39er in EV1 and EV2 suits. Copy. 200 in DC1, 0.39er.
This is Mission Control Houston. If you've just joined us,
1.5 minutes.
Russian cosmonauts Oleg Artemyev and Sergei Prokopyev of the Expedition 56 crew on the International Space Station are suited up in their Orlan spacesuits inside the Pirs dock and compartment airlock on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. They have completed the breathing of pure oxygen to cleanse nitrogen out of their bloodstreams, preventing a condition known as the bends from incurring as they step out into the vacuum of space a short time from now. The depressurization of the Pirs airlock is continuing down to vacuum. That will be accomplished a short time from now. The cosmonauts will place their suits on internal battery power, and then will open the hatch to begin the start today's spacewalk, the official start time measured at the point of hatch opening. Once again, this will be the 212th spacewalk in support of space station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades, the 7th spacewalk out of the ISS this year, the 3rd in Artemyev's career, and the 1st for Prokopyev.
About 1 minute until injector should go off. Go ahead and close the O2 flow selector or move it to off manually. Copy. Injector is off for EV1, and I show fixed position. Same for EV2. 100 millimeters in DC1, 0.38 in EV1 suit. 0.38 in EV2 suit.
При П ШО 20 миллиметров, БСС В2 открыто ВКД.
Please report to us when you get a message at airlock pressure equal to 20 millimeters. Position BSS knob to O2, open EVA.
С вами до 20 миллиметров.
Please report to us once you get that message on your displays. And we'll continue to go to 20 millimeters.
После появления сообщения при 20 будем БСС переводить в положение О2.
And once you get that message on your displays, we'll move BSS knob to O2 open EVA position. Copy. Got the message, and the tone was received for EV2, not yet for EV1. Copy, Oleg. Standing by. What was the message, Sergey, you received? It says pressure is 20 millimeters, O2 open EVA. 60 millimeters on DC1. Copy. 0.38. Pressure in Orlan.
Once they make their way outside of the Piers docking compartment, we'll be able to follow the work of Artemyev and Prokopiev in an over-the-shoulder view, if you will. They will be equipped as our astronauts during U.S. spacewalks with helmet cameras. Artemyev, again designated as EV1 or extravehicular crew member number 1, wearing the suit with the red stripes. He will be using a helmet camera that will have a ghost-like number in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. The number 20 will be Artemyev's helmet camera designation. Prokopiev's helmet camera will be number 18. He will be in the suit bearing the blue stripes as EV2 or extravehicular crew member number 2.
Давление высот 35.
35 millimeters in DC1. Copy. Got a message at the airlock pressure equal to 20 millimeters. Open O2 to EVA on BSS. Very good. Could you give us the DC1 pressure and suit pressures, please, Oleg? 30 millimeters in DC1. 0.38 for EV1 and EV2. Copy. And we're going to continue to drop pressure until 20 millimeters. And then we will move the BSS knob to O2 open EVA position.
So the two cosmonauts continue to follow their procedures in the Piers airlock as Piers is being depressurized down to vacuum. The crew is pretty much running on the timeline for the opening of the hatch that's scheduled near the top of the hour to begin today's spacewalk.
22 millimeters. Copy. Getting ready to mode BSS knob to O2 open EVA position. Copy. 21.
If you're wondering
20 millimeters.
why today's spacewalk is starting later than most spacewalks typically begin, that was designed by the Russian spacewalking experts to accommodate the correct lighting conditions for the manual deployment of the 4 nanosatellites, the 2 Tanusha communications satellites and the 2 Sirius satellites that will be manually released by Sergei Prokopiev off of the ladder outside of the hatchway to the Piers docking compartment within the first 30 minutes or so of today's spacewalk.
Давление 15.
The pressure inside DC1 is 15. Copy.
Давление 14.
14.
Принято.
Copy.
Давление 13.
Pressure in DC1 is 13.
Принято.
Oleg, we copy.
Давление 12. Закрывай.
Pressure is 12. Closing KSD2. Copy and concur. Please close KSD2 manually. KSD2 is closed. Closing KSD DC1 next. Copy and concur. And verify on the DC1 EVA support panel that the LED indicating KSD is open
Давление высот сломанного
is no longer illuminated.
10,5, наверное.
Copy. And
5 минут на окончательный.
can you give me the current DC1 pressure?
40.
10.5. Oh, actually, it's,
Принято. И 5 минут.
let's call it 10. 10.
Герметик.
Copy. Start the 5-minute timer
Принято.
to do the final leak check. Copy and work.
And the report now is that the Piers docking compartment airlock has now been depressurized to the appropriate level. Next stop will on the checklist will be a final leak check to make sure that the Piers is equalized to the pressure of the vacuum of space, which is 0 outside.
Orlan transition to
That will
copy and work.
be followed moments later by the 2 cosmonauts placing their suits on battery power.
Ready to go.
Давление высот 11.
Cabin pressure in DC1 is 11.
Принято.
Copy.
Олег, ну мы подходим к 2 минутам контроля. Как давление высокого на вакууметру?
Давление по моновакууме
What's the pressure per the pressure gauge inside DC1
половиной.
after about 2 minutes of leak checks?
11,5.
I'd say 11.5. Copy 11.5.
Отстаем от графика чуть-чуть. Да.
Are we behind the timeline?
На минуту
A little bit.
3, поэтому это все нормально, хорошо.
We are awaiting the final few steps of preparation by Artemyev and Prokopiev in the Piers docking compartment airlock before they are given the green light to open the hatch to begin today's spacewalk. The International Space Station is flying
well, how's it going 5 minutes in?
South of Australia at an altitude of 254 statute miles, about to begin a southwest and northeasterly track across the Pacific Ocean.
Copy. Very good. Let's open step 11 of the Q card. Ready? For the Orlan transition to standalone power. If you're ready, you can put step 11 of Q card 7 into work for Orlan transition to standalone power. 038 for EV1, 038 for EV2. For the Orlan pressure. Deactivating primary pump, primary fan, and light, primary power. And now activate primary pump, fan, and transmitter. EV1 complete. Copy that. 27.9 for battery voltage. Copy. 27.4. Copy, and I assume that the primary pump, fan, and transmitters are on. That's a fun.
Cosmonauts now switching their suits to internal battery power.
Stand by for power off and the LED de-illuminate. Done. Send the command to unpower suits 1 and 2. Done. Copy. Demating the electrical umbilical. Yes, you are. Go. And then once you've demated the electrical umbilicals, cover them with MLI. Copy.
Artemyev, the veteran spacewalker amongst the cosmonaut duo for today. This will be his third spacewalk of his career. Arrived on the station back in March along with Drew Feustel, who's now the station commander, and NASA's Ricky Arnold. They'll be returning to Earth on October 4th. Sergei Prokopiev arrived on the station back in June with Alexander Gerst and Serena Anand Chancellor. They're in the midst of their 6.5-month mission on the complex, scheduled for a return to Earth on December 13th.
And then when you're done with those, demate the fluid umbilicals from the Orlan suits. Copy that. EV1 has completed fluid umbilical demate. Oleg, you should see the timer of the LSD in the left upper corner, and it should set to 0. Can you confirm? 422 for primary, 27.8 for voltage. Copy. Very good. Fluid umbilical demated for EV2. Copy. Oleg, where are you going to be positioned? Notable. Sergey, what's the primary pressure and voltage? For 11 atmospheres for the primary pressure, 27.2 for the battery voltage. Copy. Switch BSS to O2 closed. In work. Done.
Скажи, пожалуйста, давление в скафандре первом И давление в скафандре втором по УДСК.
What's the pressure in suit 1 and suit 2?
УДСК, у первого.
EV1 is looking at 036 and 036 for EV2 as well.
Принято. Хорошо, теперь бортовые колодки.
Copy.
К бортзаглушкам.
Made the fluid umbilicals to the stowage caps and cover the umbilical connector with MLI flap. The flap that is stationary, that or inaudible? Closing the MLI flap. Are you comfortable, Oleg? Let me help you out. I need to go lower a little bit.
Сереж, Олег, и после этого закрыть ОРК клапанами идти.
Закрыто ОРК клапанами.
Sergey and Oleg, you should remember to cover the MLI flaps when you're done. Copy? In work? Copy that?
Так, первый подстыковал свою заглушку.
Принято.
Cap has been installed for EV1 on the fluid umbilical. Copy.
Just a few more steps left for Artemiev and Prokopiev before they will open the hatch to the Piers docking compartment to officially mark the start of today's spacewalk. The International Space Station will be sailing into an orbital sunrise over the Pacific Ocean in about 6.5 minutes.
EV2 confirming the fluid umbilical has been made. Okay, guys. I'm going to hand you over to the EVA folks. And good luck. Thank you, Dima.
Олег, Сергей, у вас счетчики в левом углу перезапустились на автономный режим?
3 минуты показывает. У меня 4.
How long have you been in battery power? 3 and 4 minutes respectively. And O2 closed. Can you confirm? O2 closed.
Принято.
Copy that.
Сергей, Олег, приветствую вас.
Sergey and Oleg, how are you? Hello. How are you, Artyom?
Привет.
Hello.
Как у вас дела? Работаем сегодня немножко.
How are things? Should we get some work today? Get some work done? Yeah, we don't mind. That's what we're here for.
Хорошо. У нас сейчас пока есть пауза небольшая.
Okay, we got a little bit of a downtime.
То, что обязательно у нас безопасность превыше всего.
Just wanted to give you a reminder that safety comes first in everything we're about to do. With respect to tethering on the handrails on DC-1. So, same goes for using the Orlan sun visor when necessary.
Да, на этом я хотел бы нашу предварительную такую речь закончить.
That's for the intro.
Какое у вас давление?
And so, what's the pressure right now?
Давление высоко?
DC-1 pressure, you mean?
Да.
A firm.
Давление высоко 12.
DC-1 pressure is 12. 1-2.
Есть добро, тогда переходим к процедуре открытия выходного люка.
All right. With that, you are go to perform the EV hatch opening step. You have MCC go. Copy.
Принято.
Следующий шаг. Проверяем фиксацию скафандровых фалов.
All right. Attach the safety tether hook to handrail DC-1. EV-1 complete.
Второй.
EV-2 stand by. is on one adjustable tether. So
Переводим ключ люка в положение рабочее.
Взял ключ.
switch the
В рабочем положении.
handle into the operational mode.
Люка вывернута до упора.
Винты вывернуты до упора.
Ручки на осях поворота крышки в положении закрыто.
Rotated into the closed position on the cover,
Закрыто.
and it's closed.
Принято.
Copy that.
Сергеевич, устанавливаем ключ открытия люка в приводной вал.
Установил.
Принято.
Security hatch and open configuration.
Стрелки.
Done.
Переводим в положение открыто до
Indicator to open.
Принято.
Copy.
Установил. Произвожу.
In work.
Открытие.
Open.
Шнурок не дает. Что не дает? Шнурок намотал.
Too much rope here. That's not yielding. Okay. Do you need some help? It's not budging.
Подержать?
Do I need to give you a hand here?
Да, не надо, не надо, не надо. Давай. Так, есть щелчка. Готов.
Okay, we heard the click.
ролики. Ушли, да?
Ролики ушли.
The rollers have detented.
Хорошо, тогда ручку толкателя
Okay, the pusher handle
до полного падения избыточного давления.
needs to be
Олег,
depressed until the pressure drop is complete.
Все смотрю.
Okay.
Так, ух ты, запузырилось что-то. Там, наверное, водичка.
All right, something bubbling up. I guess there was some water in there.
Понятно, в шкафу.
Yeah, probably.
Испаряется. Свет не мешает?
Too much light for you? So you know, I'm good.
Так, ну, я думаю, что люк уже поддается.
Yeah, I think the hatch is about to go. Stand by.
давление полностью сбросить.
Yeah, you need to complete the depress all the way. Copy that.
Ключ устанавливаю. Так. Ключ остается у нас, да?
The handle, does it need to stay in? Yeah, it needs to stay inserted.
Подожди.
Stand by. Let me do this real quick. Okay.
Олег, как давление?
Oh, look, what's the pressure?
Давление. Сейчас, минуту.
Stand by one.
Развернулся.
I need to turn around a little bit.
Artemyev and Prokopiev completing the final steps associated with the opening of the hatch. We're standing by for an official start time. The hatch not quite open yet.
Так, давление 0.
Принято.
Pressure is 0. Copy. You are go to open. Okay. It took me a little while to get back here, so I need to return first. You hold my hand? Okay.
Когда откроешь крышку люка, карабин мягкого фала зафиксировать за 201 панель.
You need to make sure that the umbilical doesn't get snagged once you start opening the hatch cover. Okay. Can you reach the hook? Oh, the hook? Let me see about that. I can reach it. Yeah, I can't reach it. I definitely won't be able to reach it. The adjustable hook, I'm about to hand it over to you, to Oleg. Okay, copy. And done.
Олег, фиксируешь карабин за...
Oleg, you need to secure your hook. Yeah, I've got it in my hands, Moscow. First I need to open the hatch, Moscow, then hatch is open. Moscow unintelligible. The hatch is open. What did you say? Yep. Opening. Opening. Here it goes. Here it comes. Just a little bit more. All right, I got it attached to panel 201. Now release the slack. Stand by. Hold on. 1 sec. Got to get the second here. Make sure that nothing gets snagged up. Make sure that we don't contact the Icarus in the way we shouldn't. I'm about to pull out the protective ring. Copy. Hatch is in the open position, and the umbilical is nice and taut. Okay. You need to keep an eye on the cabling to make sure that that doesn't change from its current nominal configuration. Okay. Opening the ring. Can you turn around or go clockwise towards the hook? A little bit more.
This is Mission Control Houston. As you look at a fuzzy image of the Piers docking compartment, we now have an official hatch open time and the official start of today's spacewalk at 11:17 a.m. Central Time, 12:17 p.m. Eastern Time to begin Russian spacewalk number 45, the 212th spacewalk in support of space station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. Again, spacewalk officially underway with the opening of the hatch to the Piers docking compartment airlock at 11:17 a.m. Central Time. Artemiev and Prokopiev will shortly make their way outside of the hatchway on Piers. It's not that hatch that you're looking at. There's a second hatch around the corner of the docking compartment airlock itself. The first order of business will be to install a protective ring around the circumference of the hatch to protect it and its delicate seals during the course of today's spacewalk.
Well, hey guys, we may be coming up on a quick handover. So go ahead and finish up the protective ring ups. And then switch the locks into translation configuration from stowage. And then head for the VA ladder. Okay, I've got my marks aligned. Me too. Okay. Yep. I've got it all ready to go. Let me. Yeah, protective ring.
Once the protective ring has been installed, which is underway by Artemyev and Prokopyev, Artemyev will take the first two nanosatellites, the Tanusha satellites, out of the docking compartment airlock, hand them off to Prokopyev, who will position himself on the spacewalk ladder right outside of the hatchway to Piers and prepare for the deployment of those first two nanosatellites. The Tanusha satellites are technology and communications satellites to assess how satellites group themselves in orbit and to measure the density of the vacuum of space. The Tanusha satellites, the first two that will be deployed by Prokopyev, weigh 11 pounds apiece, measuring 4.3 inches by 5 inches by 14.5 inches.
Unhook this adjustable now.
Зафиксировал второй фаул.
The second tether is secured on the EVA ladder.
Принято.
Yeah, and at this point you need to activate the sublimator. I'm on the EVA ladder, activating the sublimator.
Принято. Олег.
Copy.
У меня к тебе просьба, можешь голову из обреза люка высунуть, и вам, Сергей, надо включить американские камеры нашлемные. Мы будем пытаться подключиться к ним.
Yeah, once you've passed the edge of the hatch, Oleg, you need to activate the USOS GoPro so we can start grabbing the video feed from the... Okay, I can activate the cameras whenever we need. Yeah, you both need to activate your helmet cameras once you go past the outer edge of the hatch on your way out. Okay. Sublimator is being activated, Moscow. Copy. Sublimator is on for EV1. LED is illuminated. Injector is on based on the deconfig. 035 and 038 is the insert pressure, respective. What's the pressure again? Oh, decimal 38 and 035 for the ODSK and the panel reading, respectively, for some reason. And the injector on signal has just enunciated Moscow unintelligible. 38 unstable for the UDSK. I'm on the EVA ladder edge and the cameras. EV1 has just activated the helmet camera. EV2 in progress.
And our first view of our spacewalkers today. This is Oleg Artemyev wearing the suit bearing the red stripes as EV1, or extravehicular crew member number 1. He's outside of the hatchway to be joined momentarily by Sergei Prokopyev as the cosmonaut duo will set up shop for the deployment of 4 nanosatellites, 2 of them called Tanusha, that are designed to measure the density of the vacuum of space. The other 2 called Sirius Sats, those payloads that will be deployed by Prokopyev manually, as well as a space particle detector for studying space weather.
Video, outboard video, Sergey. Okay, using the tether, I've secured it on the EVA ladder.
And this actually is Prokopyev wearing the suit with the blue stripes. His backpack has red stripes, but his suit with the blue stripes, this is Prokopyev setting up a foot restraint on the spacewalk ladder, or the EVA ladder, right outside of the hatchway of the Piers docking compartment. This is Prokopiev's first spacewalk. Artemyev will join him shortly as his third spacewalk now officially underway.
First umbilical has been...
The spacewalk began at 11:17 a.m. Central, 12:17 p.m. Eastern Time, with the opening of the hatch to the Piers docking compartment.
Yeah, Oleg, stand by for Oleg, for Sergey to finish what he's doing right now. It may take a couple of minutes to check its functionality before you go to move on to the next step. I don't know how that happened. What do you mean? I've released. The GoPro bracket has been released or unlatched. Now we need to re-secure it using the holder. Stand by. Let me try it like this. Let me put it right back here. Right, stand by. Booster is operational. I'm going to temporarily turn it off. Copy. What's going on there? Tell me. Let me get over there. I'm going to hold it. You're going to wire tie it, okay? Sure thing. Can you repeat what's going on there, guys? At this location, the bracket has fallen off. The boom has fallen out of the lock that it gets inserted into the swing arm. We can probably wire tie it if you can reach it. Let me try. I'm going to hold it down and you try to wire it. Moscow, unintelligible. Say that again, Moscow.
Again, this view of first-time spacewalker Sergei Prokopyev, Expedition 56 flight engineer, outside of the hatchway of the Piers docking compartment, as he is establishing a foot restraint and installing a GoPro camera on the ladder of the Piers docking compartment to document the deployment of 4 nanosatellites, 2 Tanusha satellites, and 2 Sirius satellites that will be coming up very shortly.
And bungee. We can secure it more, but I would need help with that. Can you, like, hand it back to me or something? One of us will be holding it, and so on and so forth. Make sure that it doesn't fly away. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Wait up. Yep, got it.
Okay, so we're not lucky this time. So my proposal, go ahead. What's that, Moscow? Yes, Olga. I wanted to give you another proposal if that's possible.
A short time from now, we'll get our first views from the helmet cameras that the 2 cosmonauts have mounted on their Orlan spacesuits. Once they activate them, which should be a moment or two from now, and there is our first view. That's the view from Sergei Prokopiev's helmet camera with the number 18 at the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Oleg Artemyev will have the helmet camera bearing the number 20.
Is camera 1 on? Is it operational? Artem, how copy? We can see that picture. Oleg, we see what you're doing. Can you see what we're doing right now? Yes, we can. Oleg, please restow GoPro 360 in the airlock, and please continue performing the timeline. Copy all, Moscow.
And you can see a good view inside the hatch to the Piers docking compartment, Just off to the right side of your screen, that was Oleg Artemyev, still inside the docking compartment airlock itself.
Yes.
But with the hatch open to the vacuum of space, Artemyev will be handing Prokopyev in sequential order 2 nanosatellites called Tanusha that Prokopyev will manually deploy retrograde to the orbit of the International Space Station to prevent any possibility of recontact with the station's structure. That will be followed by the deployment of 2 Sirius satellites, again manually, by Prokopyev. The International Space Station is flying 254 miles above the Earth, moving from southwest to northeast. Its orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, soon to cross Baja California and west central Mexico.
And after that, I will hand both satellites over to Sergey, and after that, I'll try to take a recording. Okay, copy.
Олег, Сергей.
Sergey? Yes, go ahead. I'm here.
Давайте включим ASTR.
Let us activate ASTS. Okay, copy.
Тумблер. Тепло-холод.
Inaudible.
Проверьте, что он в нейтральном положении.
And make sure that it is in the straight position before you start using it. Copy all. All right, I will set it to 0. Okay, the first one is on. All right, the temperature control handle is in the mid position. Done. Second one. What about that handle, the temperature control handle? It should be set at 0 at all times. Copy all. All right, we're trying to attach this grenade somewhere, if you know what I'm talking about. Yes, of course, so give me your satellites, standby 1. Oleg, try to do what I told you about GoPros. I'm trying to do that right now. I've just had the alarm, the temperature is high.
And we are in a handover between satellites, and our tracking and data relay satellite system will reacquire a downlink capability for video from the station a moment or two from now. The International Space Station approaching Baja California and the west coast of Mexico. We are some 16 minutes and change into today's Russian spacewalk by Oleg Artemyev and Sergei Prokopyev. The hatch was opened at 11:17 a.m. Central Time, 12:17 p.m. Eastern Time. Prokopyev setting up shop on the ladder just outside of the hatchway to the Piers airlock as we will be approaching the point for the first of the deployments of the 4 nanosatellites that will be manually released by Prokopyev. 2 Tanusha satellites and 2 Sirius satellites. These are all technology-driven satellites, very small satellites, to provide data for researchers and students back on Earth.
Sergey, yes? Please perform the checkout, and after that perform the purge. Okay, copy. The satellite is outside, and both tethers are also outside. Copy all. Please activate your camera, GoPro camera. And please also secure it with the Velcro strap in work. And when the camera is on, continue doing your activities. Copy all. I'm preparing the second satellite for the deploy. Okay, but it has only 1 tether. Can we use only one tether for this one? One tether is insufficient.
Again, this view from Sergei Prokopiev's helmet camera. And there you see inside the Pirs airlock Oleg Artemyev, who is at the outset of the third spacewalk of his career.
And the other end should be attached to the satellite itself. All right, let me remove the cover first. Okay, copy. Are you planning to use the foot restraint? No, it is not. Doesn't feel good. Okay, copy. Sergey, during the deploy, try to secure yourself and restrain your feet. Okay, I'm handing it over to Oleg. Copy all.
Prokopiev has now removed a protective cover from the Tanusha satellites. The satellite, again, developed at the Southwestern State University in Kursk, Russia.
I'm here.
About 11 pounds a piece of each of these two satellites, measuring 4.3 inches by 5 inches by 14.5 inches, designed to study the density of the vacuum of space and how satellites travel in orbit.
Oleg, go ahead. When you secure the second satellite, unintelligible. ATR is off. Inaudible. Copy all. Artem, can you please repeat what you just said? It's on. Reattach the hook of this tether. Use the second handrail for that. Okay, so Tanusha satellite number 34 needs to be reattached. Yes, that's correct. And Tanusha number 1 is okay, correct? Yes, the one that you're holding right now is okay. The config is fine, but the second one needs to be reattached. Oleg, switch, put the ISN switch into the off position. It's off.
The space station crossing the border between northern Mexico and southwestern Texas, just south of El Paso, moving from southwest to northeast. We're standing by for the deployment of the first of these nanosatellites, the first of the pair of Tanusha technology satellites.
It's on, all right. You can move on. Copy all. The temperature adjustment handle is in the first mode, correct? Yes, it is. And for EV2, it is in position 3. Copy all. Copy all. I will switch it back to 2.
Олег, надо брать за ручку, за поручень Танюши, за антенной, за щиток нельзя.
Oleg, please try to use the handles that are attached to both satellites. I know that I cannot hold them the way I'm holding them right now, but when I removed the case, I had to remove the case together with the antenna, so this is pretty much the only way I can hold it right now. Copy all. The case has been secured with red. Copy all. Okay, I believe we can move on. The equipment tether hook has been reattached to the second handrail. Sergey, for you, please reactivate the GoPro. and readjust the switch and be ready for the satellite deployment. Okay, standby 1. We will need to prepare the second satellite for that. Copy all, Oleg. And also, don't forget about the GoPro config. Okay, standby 1. I will switch it on right now. Just 1 second.
Once again, the view from Sergei Prokopiev's helmet camera. 24 minutes now into today's Russian spacewalk, the 212th in International Space Station history. Standing by for his deployment of the first of the so-called Tanusha satellites, one of 4 such satellites that he will manually deploy in sequential fashion.
For the time being, Sergei, please readjust the switch. Done. All LEDs are illuminated. Copy all, that's great. And please position yourself for the deployment. Against the velocity vector at 50 degrees, pardon me, 60 degrees. Copy all. I'm ready. I'm also ready. Wait a minute. Let me readjust GoPro. I'm ready to unfasten the hook. GoPro is on. Copy all. Okay, Sergei, you're go to remove the hook in work. The hook is off. I've removed it. Sergei, copy. I have positioned myself, and Sergei, right now, try to deploy the satellite right now as smoothly as possible without any additional rates. Copy. So we're not removing the case right now. Oleg, that's correct? Oleg, I thought you did that before the deployment. I don't see what Sergei is doing because I can only see his back right now. Copy all. I've raised my hand. Okay, Sergei, so please try to record what you're doing right now. Okay, I've just deployed the satellite. The second satellite is also ready. The case is off. Just raise it, please. We don't see you. We can't see you, Oleg, yet.
And the first Tanusha satellite has been deployed manually by Prokopiev at 11:43 a.m. Central Time as the station flew over Naperville, Illinois, at an altitude of 254 statute miles. The first Tanusha satellite underway.
Tanusha satellite, and we'll be watching you deploying the satellite. The satellite is on. It has reactivated. It is only hanging on one tether. Copy. Okay, I've handed the satellite over to Sergei. The handover is complete. Sergei, yes, go ahead. Please check the position of the handle. Moscow is inaudible.
Prokopiev now holding the second of the 2 Tanusha satellites, preparing it for its manual deployment.
It is set at 6. Please move the handle up to raise the temperature. Copy. Done. It is at 3 right now. No, move it to 0.
This view from the high-definition external viewer camera, or HDEV camera on the International Space Station, showing the first Tanusha satellite floating away following its deployment just about 2 minutes ago. On the right side of your screen, the Soyuz spacecraft docked to the Rassvet module on the Earth-facing port of the Russian segment of the station that carried Prokopiev, Gerst, and Anand Chancellor to the International Space Station back in June. And at the top of your screen, just next door to it, is the ISS Progress 70 cargo craft.
Сергей, сопровождай спутник камерой.
Please keep recording. I'm trying.
Надо выше поднять камеру.
You should have raised the camera a little bit higher.
Еще выше, можно?
Even higher. Oleg. Stand by one.
На шлемной камере, Сергей, которая не GoPro.
Sergey, have you used some other cameras? Have you reactivated other cameras besides GoPro? I understand.
Ладно, уже закончили с Танюшами.
All right.
Приступаем к Сириусу.
Let us move on.
Понятно.
Copy. I am removing GoPro 360. Copy, Oleg.
Да, выбирай ее так, что, наверное, не будем больше.
And I don't think we'll be using GoPro again, so please restow it so it's not in the way. Let us launch Sirius, and after that I will restow GoPro. Otherwise we'll lose the precious time. Copy all. Stand by one. We switch over to Sirius.
This is Mission Control Houston. We did not have a view of the second Tanusha satellite deploy, but it occurred at 11:45 a.m. Central, 2 minutes after the first of the two Tanushas were deployed. So both Tanusha satellites have been manually cast free from the International Space Station by Sergei Prokopyev. These satellites will measure the density of the vacuum of space, a project developed by Southwestern State University in Kursk, Russia. Next up will be Prokopiev's deployment of the two Sirius satellites, a space particle detector sensor satellite developed by the Research Institute of Nuclear Physics at Moscow State University in association with a group of school children and students at the Sirius Educational Center in Russia. The second of the two satellites again deployed at 11:45 a.m. Central Time, while the station flew just north of Quebec City, Canada. The second of the two Tanusha satellites as it floats away from the International Space Station. Again, this view from a high-definition external viewer camera, the HDEV camera, on the outside of the International Outpost.
Sergey, please start working with series number 2. Okay, let me try to attach the second tether. I'm still working with a hook. What did you just say? Come again. We are planning to re-secure Sirius, and we're working with a hook. Copy. The second hook is on the case. The second hook is on the launch device.
We are in a handover between satellites on our tracking and data relay satellite network. We'll be regaining our television downlink capability from the station a moment or two from now. The station flying over the Gulf of St. Lawrence, just north of Newfoundland.
Which valve?
Two Tanusha technology satellites having been manually deployed sequentially at 11:43 a.m. and 11:45 a.m. respectively by Sergei Prokopyev. He is now preparing to launch manually the two Sirius space particle detector satellites.
After that, open valve number 2.
The Sirius satellites weigh 3.8 pounds in mass apiece, measuring 5 inches by 5 inches by 5 inches.
We don't get video right now from you guys, so please report what you're doing. I can see the hook and I'm ready to release it. Copy. You're go to remove.
And we have our television back from the space station as the tether has been released by Prokopyev from the first of the two small Sirius satellites. He is preparing to release it momentarily.
See the video. So was it hard to remove it? Well, yes, slightly more difficult than I expected. Copy all, Sergey. Please position yourself to launch the satellite, and please stand by for our commands. For our go. Do you want me to switch off GoPro? No, activate.
Если включена, то не выключай.
If the GoPro is on, please power it off. Copy. I'm ready for the launch. I'm removing the hook from the satellite. It's complete. I'm positioning myself right now to launch the satellite. What about the LEDs? Are they illuminated? I don't see that right now. It's actually not that important. You're go to launch right now. I'm ready. Okay, Sergey, your go. Hold it by the handle and just deploy it. I'm holding it by the handle and I'm deploying it right now.
And there goes the first of the two Sirius satellites deployed at 11:51 a.m. Central, 12:51 p.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station flew over the North Atlantic.
Copy, number 2. We've started that in work. Give me the tether, please.
So 3 satellites down, 1 to go. The second of the Sirius satellites being readied for its deployment by Sergei Prokopyev. Once this activity is over with, the 2 cosmonauts will turn their attention to the work associated with the beginning of the preparation of the hardware for the Icarus experiment that we'll talk more about in just a moment.
Do you want me to attach it right now? Which tether is that? It's the one that you gave me. Oh, okay. And you have attached the second tether to the case. Wonderful. I'm removing my red on my side. All right, copy. And right now I'm working with the second tether. Wonderful. Sirius 2 on the outside on the tether. Okay, we're attaching the second tether. Copy. Stand by 1.
And the view from Sergei Prokopiev's helmet camera showing Oleg Artemyev leaning outside of the hatchway. He wearing the suit, the Orlan spacesuit with the red stripes as extravehicular crew member number 1. Artemyev in the midst of the 3rd spacewalk of his career. Prokopiev wearing the suit with the blue stripes, about to receive the handoff of the second of the 2 Sirius satellites. Both Tanusha satellites were deployed, and the first of the 2 Sirius satellites also deployed by Prokopiev. 3 down, 1 to go.
Could you please deactivate them, Oleg? All right. I understood, Moscow. In work? I don't see the LEDs are illuminated. Actually, no. I see the LED was so small that I simply didn't notice it was illuminated. It is on the safety pin. It's right near the safety pin. The first glisser is on. The safety pin is released. Copy. Sergey, please position yourself for the launch. In work. The case has been handed over. Stand by 1. I have received the case. This is Oleg. Okay, Sergey, please move. Okay, Sergey, please position yourself, and Oleg temps to all the cases. All right? Yeah, I will figure it out with the cases. Don't worry, Moscow. We understand, Oleg. I have positioned myself. This is Sergey. I'm ready for launch. So can you please try to deploy the second series a little bit higher than the first one? Understood? But it is not that critical. 1, 2, 3, go.
And the fourth in the series of these nanosatellites, the second Sirius Sat satellite, deployed at 11:56 a.m. Central, 12:56 p.m. Eastern Time, as the space station flew just to the northwest of the northern coast of Spain.
Please help Oleg to reconfigure the hardware. Copy all. The equipment tethers are being removed right now. Is that correct, Moscow? Yes. And we temp stow them in DC-1. You will do that when you re-ingress DC-1. Don't waste your time.
So all four satellites successfully deployed manually by Sergei Prokopyev. 2 Tanusha technology satellites, 2 Sirius Sat space particle detector satellites. All four are away to begin their scientific data collection. The crew now will turn its attention to retrieving all the equipment that they will need for the installation of the Icarus experiment payload. The Icarus payload is one that will be installed and its antennas deployed to provide a data link between the experiment itself and GPS equipment tagged on birds and other wildlife back on Earth, an ecological and migratory data collection experiment.
Yeah, just try to make sure that they're not in the way when we re-ingress the module. I'm switching off GoPros. Affirmative. Please power off GoPro. It took us a little bit longer to launch the satellites than we initially planned, so try to be more effective right now. I'm thinking where we can stow GoPro 360 to make sure that it doesn't float away. Should I use the bungee cord, or should I simply use wire ties, or I don't know. Let me try. You really shouldn't rush because it's slightly slippery and I don't want it to float away. What is left from GoPro 360 has been secured under the bungee 3113. Copy all. And we are preparing the foot restraint and Icarus right now. We're preparing them to take them outside. So, Oleg, we don't have a preference on which kit will need to be outside first, so whichever kit is closer, please use that one. Okay, copy. The bungee has been released. The securing bungee. Copy all.
Так, Серега. Давай.
Sergey?
Карабин снаружи.
Go ahead. The hook is out, and the tether is secured to the EV ladder. Copy.
Да, фиксировано. Это карабином.
I confirm it's secured, and the kit is being pointed towards the EV ladder. Copy, and we're watching.
Да. Самое главное, чтобы в люк пролезло.
The most important thing is for it to fit through the hatchway.
Так, сейчас я с этой
Did you receive it?
кабель фиксирую, чтобы она у нас была на двух точках.
Yes, I'm holding it for now. Yes, Sergey. Keep a good grip on it while I'm securing it with a second safety, with a second equipment tether on the EV ladder. Continue to pull it out, and the bundle is out of the hatch. Copy. Олег, go ahead and egress as well. Wait, Artyom. I still need to retrieve UKP cable carrier. Okay, I'm just worried because this kit is quite large that Sergey is holding. So it's hard to hold on to. Where's the hook that I gave you, Sergey? If you pull it towards yourself, you should be able to see it. All right, Oleg, can you hold the bundle in the meantime while I search for the hook? Yeah, but it's not in the way of anything, and nothing is interfering with that tether. Right, but you need to pull it towards yourself so that the other hooks are not in the way of this particular one. And I'm ready to take out UKP cable carrier. Copy, Oleg. Artyom, are you getting a video from my helmet camera? No, not right now. We'd like you to turn the camera on, but after you... After you egress DC. Oh, okay. And you want me to do what with it? Power cycle it. So turn it off and then turn it back on. Okay. I remove it from the bungee.
Так. Сейчас. Вторую точку фиксации.
And we got the second tether that I'm attaching it with right now. Copy.
Какой-нибудь ряд, а потом мы УКП будем устанавливать на поручень мачты.
Okay, and this is just a temporary attachment. Okay, one UKP tether is attached to EV ladder. And I'm ready to take it out of the module. Copy. Go ahead, take it out, and then egress the module after you are done taking the UKP out.
Поближе подведу. То есть это одновременно тяжеловато.
Принято, да, хорошо, конечно, да.
Copy.
Так. УКП за обрезом люка.
UKP is beyond the hatch edge. Copy. I'm rehooking the second tether to EV ladder. Copy.
Второй карабин на ВУ.
Second hook is latched on EV ladder, and UKP cable carrier is out of the module. Copy. Bring the Icarus carrier closer to the EV hatch so that we can start working with it first. Copy. In work.
А УКП мы можем на F-образный поручень на мачту, да? Устанавливаем.
Да, устанавливай. Только аккуратно.
And the UKP can be temp stowed on a handrail, correct?
Выходного устройства.
Yeah.
Если получится, так, то...
Maybe to the base of the EV ladder, if that's possible.
Что сделать за якость?
I'm sorry, do what with it?
Так как ты двумя руками хочешь работать, то
Well, since you want to have both hands free for work,
зафиксироваться
then maybe it makes sense for you to
и двумя руками работать.
restrain your feet using foot restraint, and then you'll free up both hands to do the opt. Okay?
Сейчас я перефиксирую один из фалов.
Let me resecure one of the tethers leading from OKP carrier to the boom. Are you okay with that?
Да, Сергей, нам надо...
Yes, Sergey, your go to do that.
Можно даже вторым фалом тоже за этой же укладкой зафиксироваться.
The second tether can also be restrained to the carrier.
Так.
Был короткий перерыв связи. Был короткий перерыв.
We had a short handover, but now we're back.
Так, значит, укладка Икарус близко к люку, и сейчас пока на одном фале.
The Icarus bundle is right now very close to the EV hatch, but it's only attached to one tether. Yeah, actually, my recommendation is to attach a second tether to the EV letter and leave the other one where it is. Okay? Yeah, that makes sense. I like that plan. Sergey, were you able to install the UKP carrier onto the boom? I'm in the process of doing that right now. I just engaged the lock. Excellent, because during the handover we were not getting video. Okay. One suit tether is attached to EV ladder. Copy.
Зафиксировал на мачте УКП.
УКП is secured to the boom.
Бок стояла. Вернее, получилось, что она чуть... Второй фал
наблюдаем.
The second tether of EV1 suit is also secured to EV ladder. Copy, Oleg. We're happy with this tethering right now. Oleg, as soon as you situate yourself on the EV ladder, please power cycle your helmet camera. Copy.
Включить-выключить, да? Вот выключил, включил.
All right, I turned it off and now it's back on. And UKP carrier is currently fully secured to the boom. Copy. I'm on EV ladder. This is Oleg. And should I set up a course? Yes, please secure it to the EV ladder using one hook. And Sergey, are you able to translate to the longitudinal handrails on the service module? Longitudinal? I copy.
This is Mission Control Houston, 54 minutes into today's spacewalk by Russian cosmonauts Oleg Artemyev and Sergei Prokopyev. This view from the helmet camera on Prokopyev as he and Artemyev are now making their way towards the work site along the Zvezda service module, to which they will install this payload known as Icarus, named after the god in Greek mythology. The Icarus payload, Icarus is an acronym standing for International Cooperation for Animal Research Using Space. It is a collaborative payload developed between the German space agency DLR and the Russian space agency Roscosmos that will be installed on the hull of the service module, designed to establish a global observation system for birds and other small wildlife to study migratory patterns and the movements of wildlife who are tagged with GPS receivers to better understand life, behavior, vital functions, and how animals migrate and die in particular locations around the planet. This is an ecological experiment that could yield data that would be very valuable to understand climate change and disaster forecasts as pertains to migratory patterns of these animals.
Go ahead and
the Icarus payload and antennas that will open up, will unfold basically on either side of this payload, will then be activated by flight controllers on the ground to provide
tell you ahead of time
an initial health check of the payload before data collection begins by the researchers back on Earth. This payload will be installed on a workstation on the large diameter of the Zvezda service module, the equipment carried up on recent Russian Progress resupply missions.
And guys, during the first eclipse, we'll continue to work and not rest.
A short time ago, Prokopyev completed the first major objective of this spacewalk, the 212th in the history of the International Space Station, by deploying 4 nanosatellites, 2 so-called Tanusha satellites and 2 Sirius-Sat satellites, very small satellites that will yield technological data for researchers back on Earth.
How are you guys doing? Better than ever. Very good. Continue. Oleg, just continue to hold it in the same position. Copy. And Sergey, you continue to translate very carefully. And these are extra tethers then? Right. Which are the tethers?
This Icarus payload that will be installed on the work platform on the service module a short time from now will involve the hookup of electrical and data cables to outlets on the outside of the hull of the Zvezda service module. There are 2 antennas to receive GPS location information from the tagged animals and birds on the ground, a transmission antenna, and a central plate. All of these antennas interconnected with hinges that will allow the antenna assembly to unfold on either side of the so-called monoblock, basically the base block of the Icarus payload.
Are you okay working in the clips? How's visibility? Excellent. No worries whatsoever. And we are translating towards the USOS?
The International Space Station is flying just off the coast of Kenya in the northwestern region of the Indian Ocean, moving from northwest to southeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator as we approach the 1 hour mark into today's spacewalk. The next portion of the spacewalk will include quite a bit of work by the cosmonauts to hook up electrical cables to various outlet ports on the hull of the Zvezda service module for this Icarus payload.
Sergey, could you pull the bundle towards yourself a little bit? Not quite good this way.
Олег перефиксируется на продольные поручни.
Oleg is rehooking himself to longitudinal handrail. And the adjustable tether is right now secured to the aero parallel handrails. Copy. And the second tether is secured as well. Now going back to the bundle. I'm holding it with one hand. Copy, Oleg, I see that. Translating past solar arrays. I am next to the cable holder, closer to the cone. Copy, and we're watching. The bundle is also on the working compartment on aero. Copy. Continue to translate. Oleg, do you have a tight hold on it? Stand by? Yes, I do. Okay, I'm going to rehook myself. And I understand that you are at the end of the small aero diameter? Correct. And the EV1 is right now next to GTS antenna. Copy.
Твое положение, вот где ты находишься сейчас, вы будете по окончанию работы на большом диаметре делать протирку скафандров и запускать салфетки.
And Sergey, just make a note that where you are right now on the large diameter is where you are going to be stopping by to wipe your Orlon suits with the towels and jettison those towels after you're done with them. We understand, but that will be at the end of the work. Right, I just wanted to point out the location. All right, are you holding the kit? I am. And right now I am at the circumferential handrails. Copy. Go ahead and rehook yourself to the circumferential handrail 2411. Copy. Looking for 2411. And we see the holder that's open, actually.
Сергей, если у тебя есть,
Copy.
можешь туда кабель протащить и закрыть его?
Sergey, if you have a spare minute, can you try to put the cable back in the holder and then close the holder to keep the cable still in place? Okay, let me see. Oleg, is this the one you're talking about? That's right. Just place the cable inside that holder. Copy, Sergey. Thank you. And you want me to close the latch, right, on the holder? Yeah, don't spend too much time on it. I can finish that up and close the holder once I move past it. This is Oleg. Copy. Oleg, go ahead and translate on to your work site. Copy. Towards plane 2.
Сергей, да, двигаемся в сторону поручень 2412, 2413.
All right, Sergey, you're translating towards handrails 2412.
Так, начал тоже движение.
Принято. Сергей, а ты...
Starting translation. Copy. And Sergey.
This is the view from the helmet camera of Oleg Artemyev in the third spacewalk of his career. Artemyev and Sergei Prokopyev now 1 hour 5 minutes into their spacewalk today. This is the 7th spacewalk out of the International Space Station this year, the 212th in history. The first objective of the spacewalk, the deployment of 4 very small technology satellites manually by Prokopyev. Those were accomplished between 11:43 a.m. and 11:56 a.m. Central Time within the past hour. The 2 cosmonauts now making their way to a work site on the hull of the Zvezda service module to begin hooking up electrical and data connections for the installation of the Icarus payload, a payload that will transmit information and data from the space station back to Earth and receive GPS location information from birds and other small wildlife who have been tagged with GPS receivers on Earth as part of an ecological migratory study that is a joint collaboration between the German space agency DLR and Roscosmos, the Russian space agency.
Motion as you move along, and as you pass it to each other, it's better controllable. I was in control of it. Okay, Oleg, we can discuss that later.
The International Space Station is flying from northwest to southeast over the Indian Ocean. We're about 22.5 minutes away from an orbital sunrise as we continue our coverage of today's spacewalk. There are 2 additional spacewalks during the Expedition 56 increment that are planned out of the Quest airlock on the U.S. side of the International Space Station in September to replace batteries on the Port 4 truss segment of the station and its 2 power channels, the 2A power channel and the 4A power channel. The first of those spacewalks targeted for September 20th by Drew Feustel and Alexander Gerst of the European Space Agency. The second of the 2 spacewalks targeted for September 26th by Gerst and NASA's Ricky Arnold.
Now fully on
the dates of those 2 spacewalks contingent on the arrival of the Japanese H-2 transfer vehicle, the HTV-7, that is scheduled to be launched on an H-2B rocket from the Tanegashima Space Center in Japan on the morning of September 11th Japan time, which would be the evening of September 10th here in the United States.
Holding on.
The HTV-7 will carry up new lithium-ion batteries to replace the old batteries that have been on the P4 truss of the station for its power supply. A similar replacement series of spacewalks were conducted a year or so ago by Shane Kimbrough, Peggy Whitson, and Thomas Pesquet on the starboard side of the International Space Station.
And Oleg, I'm ready. And I'm ready to hand it over to you. Go ahead and get it. And I'm still holding on to the bundle. Right,
as we hand over communications between our tracking and data relay satellites, we'll regain our downlink television capability from the station momentarily. This view of the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Korolyov outside of Moscow, in which the Russian flight controllers reside, who are in control of the conduct of today's spacewalk by Artemyev and Prokopiev. The two cosmonauts were up shortly after midnight Central Time this morning, began their spacewalk preparations, and were assisted by NASA flight engineer Serena Anand-Chancellor in getting into their Orlan spacesuits and then getting into the Piers docking compartment airlock. The spacewalk began with the hatch open to the Piers airlock at 11:17 a.m. Central Time, just about 1 hour and 10 minutes ago.
And pass on the bundle to me, and I'm holding it. EV1 is next to the window. Is it 8? No, it's window 9. Okay, I'm across from window 9. And I'm next to handrail 2413, 13.